It's Sunday morning on a paradise island in Asia, home to 40 million people. Just offshore lies one of the largest geological faults on the planet. Scientists have been studying it for decades, hoping to understand its seismic behavior. Then, the biggest quake for 40 years rocks the region. Next, a horror no one had foreseen claims over 250,000 lives.
It was a surprise that it was so devastating. It caught us off guard.
It went from a perfect day in paradise to this horrific day in a matter of seconds.
Oh my God, look at the waves coming! Clear out, people! Clear out!
The experts are bewildered by a series of bizarre phenomena. Freak waves destroy entire communities.
The mega tsunami of 2004 is the greatest mystery we have yet to unravel.
Using cutting-edge scientific analysis, they shed new light on what really happened and reveal that tsunamis are more of a threat than the world ever realized. Disasters don't just happen. They're a chain of critical events. Unravel the clues and count down those final seconds from disaster. The Indian Ocean, the third largest in the world. On its eastern boundary lies a massive trench, formed at the edge of a vast fault line known as the Sunda megathrust. Here, two of the world's giant tectonic plates collide. American geologist Kerry C. has been studying the fault for the last 10 years.
The plates are the biggest moving objects on the planet. The Indian plate is diving down beneath the Asian plate, and the overriding plate gets dragged down with it.
This collision zone is a breeding ground for earthquakes. And while the northern end of the fault has seen little major activity for at least 500 years, the southern end is a different story. Here, a big earthquake is thought to happen about once every 2 centuries.
The last one was in 1833, so almost 200 years ago. We were getting a little nervous that sometime in the next minute to next 30 years, that part of the megathrust might break again.
The megathrust is well known to geologists, but for most people who live, work and play around this vast body of water, the potential dangers were unknown. In the last days of 2004, all that would change forever. A jewel of the region is the Thai island of Koh Phi Phi. More than 150,000 tourists every year come to experience the dramatic scenery and glorious beaches. 25th of December 2004. The Moore family from California are having the vacation of a lifetime.
Hi, girls. Hi, Danielle.
It was our first time in Asia. Phi Phi Island was like no other place I'd ever been to before. Pure paradise.
Ken's been videoing his wife Gayleen and their daughters Kendra, aged 8, and Danielle, aged 6, as they enjoy their tropical Christmas.
With my kids being 6 and 8, the best thing about Christmas was they had a big party. Our children were having a wonderful time.
Good job. And there's our hotel.
Thailand is just one of more than 20 countries that surround the Indian Ocean. 460 kilometers away is the politically troubled island of Sumatra. On its west coast lies the community of Lokna. Despite more than 2 decades of civil unrest in this northern part of the island, Lokna manages to maintain an easygoing normality. Its population of 15,000 crammed along a narrow strip of land between hills and the ocean. December 26th. It's 7:57 a.m. Ibu Nuleli hangs up the family washing while 3 of her children eat their breakfast inside the house, watching TV.
We live near the ocean, and this morning there is nothing unusual. No wind, clear blue sky.
The youngest of Ibu's children is 9-year-old Ichut. She's a bright and thoughtful girl and likes to help her mother with the chores. Ichut has a 16-year-old brother and a 17-year-old sister called Fitri. She has been blind since birth but has become an expert seamstress, to the delight of her mother.
Even though she is blind, she is very talented at sewing and embroidery. She makes her own designs.
Ibu has recently lost her husband, and her children are all she has left. 7:59. Deep beneath the ocean, the earth begins to shake. The tremors continue for more than 8 minutes. Ibu and her kids are terrified by the violence of the shaking.
We stay in front of the house just praying while sitting in front of our house.
"8:15 a.m. A vast wave hurtles towards the Sumatra coastline. 8:16 a.m. The quake is over, and families all over the region try to take stock of what has happened. 28-year-old street trader Samsul Kamal surveys the damage. When he looks towards the ocean, what he sees baffles him. An expanse of exposed seabed. And he senses danger.
I know if the sea goes out that far, it will come back again.
Then, in the distance, Samsul spots a terrifying wall of water approaching fast. Within moments, Lochner is swamped by a maelstrom of turbulent water. A second wave thunders towards Ibu and her family. This one is much higher and towers over the trees.
We see the water. It's as high as a mountain.
Ibu tries desperately to hold on to Ichet, but the little girl is torn from her hands. On top of a nearby hill, Samsul watches as a third, even bigger wave approaches. Although he is 35 meters up, the mighty wave almost kills him.
The third wave went right over my head.
13 kilometers north lies Banda Aceh, the provincial capital and home to 300,000 people. 8:40 a.m. In the city center, 4 kilometers inland, an amateur cameraman films the aftermath of the quake. He captures this footage as seawater rolls slowly up the street. Suddenly, the flow accelerates. Within seconds, the water is moving faster than a man can run. As chaos unfolds in Sumatra, the tsunami continues its journey eastwards. On the holiday island of Koh Phi Phi, the Moore family prepare to leave their resort after a memorable visit.
Being that it was Christmas the night before, we were up late, and we just took a leisurely breakfast. And I remember thinking, oh, about another half an hour, we need to check out.
In their hotel room on the 3rd floor, Mum Gayleen and girls Kendra and Danielle are relaxing before finishing their packing.
My wife all of a sudden said, honey, look, grab your camera.
Ken sees that the pool area has been swamped.
At first, I just thought it was just a little tidal surge until I looked farther out into the bay and realized there was a 20-foot wave coming at the beach.
Oh my God, look at the waves coming! Clear out, people!
I surf, so I knew this wave had the potential to knock the hotel down.
Look out! Get in the room, get in the room.
We were trying to get the kids back away from the window in case the wave came through the window.
I hope no one was out.
Ken knows that they are in a dire situation.
I was beginning to lose it, and my wife said, no, we can't do that. We've got to be strong for the kids.
Okay, it's okay, girls.
While people fight for their lives in the eastern Indian Ocean, 2,000 kilometers to the west, in Sri Lanka, the Squire family from England have been spending Christmas on the halcyon beaches of Arugam Bay, in the east of the island.
We knew it was one of the last family holidays that we'd probably be having as the children were getting bigger.
Louise and Phil have 3 children, 16-year-old Will, Laura, who's 18, and their eldest, Emma. Today is Emma's 20th birthday.
Happy birthday!
Louise and Philip arrange to meet Emma at the beachfront dining area. But first, Emma heads for the bathrooms to freshen up. As Louise waits for her daughter, she notices that water is seeping into the hut.
The floor of the restaurant begins to flood with water.
When she looks up, she sees a wide brown surge of water heading straight for her.
Something tells me this is incredibly life-threatening.
Louise immediately thinks of Emma, knowing she will be totally unaware of the looming threat. There are just seconds in which to act, seconds which could spell the difference between life and death. On the Asian island of Sri Lanka, holidaymaker Louise Squire sees the terrifying sight of an approaching tsunami. Her daughter Emma is unaware of the danger. Tons of water explode into the room. Within seconds, Emma is trapped and running out of time. Incredible currents begin to tear the resort to pieces, and Louise is swept away.
The next thing I remember, I'm just under a huge amount of water, and I'm thinking, this would be so easy to die in.
Louise drags herself to safety.
I remember thinking, where are my children? But knowing there was nothing I could do.
Over the next 2 hours, a series of waves swamp Arugam Bay. Eventually, the water recedes, revealing a terrible scene.
I see a completely devastated area.
Unable to find her family, Louise makes her way to the highest point on the island. Her last and only hope of finding them alive. But even here, there is no sign of her children or husband, and she begins to despair.
I start planning my own exit from the world.
But then she hears familiar voices.
Phil comes through the garden, followed by Emma, Laura, and Will. And it was just unbelievable. And we just hugged each other.
It was amazing. She just kept on repeating, I thought I'd lost you, I thought I'd lost you. We were all in tears. We couldn't believe our luck, how all 5 of us could have survived.
The tsunami continues on its devastating path, finally bringing chaos to the coast of Somalia in Africa, 5,000 kilometers from its first landfall. Even here, the waves kill 289. All across the Indian Ocean, incredible events have been captured on video. In Thailand, astonished holidaymakers film an exposed seabed, the water drained from the beach, followed minutes later by a vertical wall of water. 3,000 kilometers to the southwest, the Maldives, a low-lying island chain, are all but submerged. To the north in Sri Lanka, a shopkeeper films the plight of schoolgirls trapped in what was a bus station. Back on Koh Phi Phi, Ken Moore and his family face a shocking new reality as the flooding subsides.
The people in that bay were gone. We'd been out there snorkeling and swimming the day before, and this wave just came and picked everyone up and just washed them away. There was people with horrific injuries. I mean, broken arms and legs twisted and lacerations.
On Sumatra, the coastline is now unrecognizable. Ibu Nuleli desperately searches for her children.
After the water receded, I was confused and frightened. There were so many dead bodies, not only people from this village, but people from other places too.
Ibu finds her blind daughter, Fitri, then her son. Together they look for the little 9-year-old, sifting through debris and corpses. But it's a race against time. With each passing minute, their chances of finding Ichut alive are dwindling.
We look for Ichut everywhere.
But after hours of fruitless searching, the awful truth is inescapable.
I couldn't find my little one. I haven't seen Ichut to this day.
Like so many youngsters, Ichut was not strong enough to survive the water. At least 1/3 of the tsunami's victims are children. This is the most devastating tsunami in recorded history. Entire communities are erased. The scale of the disaster shocks the world into action, and an international relief effort begins. But for many, it is too late. In total, more than 270,000 people are killed, but the true death toll will never be known. But what could have happened?